Be a short little video. I'm gonna be going over the Kitwars map that I've created. A lot of it hasn't really been seen yet. I recently looked over some of the footage and like maybe half of it has been showcased. Um, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot I could really look into it because there wasn't any specific markings I had for it, but I do have an update log, and the most recent thing that I recognize from it is the most recent video was around 5 months ago, in which I saw a short clip from uh, not able to see it here, but the Skylines map, which seemed to still be in progress. So there's still a lot that hasn't been seen. I just did a couple of smaller updates a second ago. Missed page there. Oh, jeez. Okay, my bad. I just realized something. This is not the right one. So, this is just going to be like going over all the maps and kits that haven't really been seen. Just really looking into the items of each one, because just to have a better understanding of which ones could be looked at. Is the right one? Yes. Okay, so this one has all the new stuff. So the Skylines map was added, let's see where it's at here. 3.1 up in the top left. So it's been a decent amount of stuff added. I'm gonna do a short little look through of all this, and anything can just be paused to read more into depth of what has been changed. I think at the start of this, there was like maybe 8 kits, and right now we're kind of developing a couple of new ones. The most recent one has been the Alchemist, and we still have like one open spot, but still looking to add a lot into it. A couple of maps in progress. Hopefully those come out sometime soon. Actually, that'll be a little while. But just recently finished a new one called Caverns, and I'll look into that one in a second here. So these were starting kits, I think. Thrower through Night. So these first 8. But I'm just gonna go down the line. There's not really a whole lot to say about them. I'll just give, I don't know, 3 or 4 seconds. Just another thing where you can pause on anything that you want to really look at, and I'll just go down the line on them. And then once I'm done with that, I'll go into the map room and we'll just do a glide over through everything. A couple of them were remodeled, like I think the most noticeable ones probably either Castle or Highlands. Castle got a much larger remodel, but Highlands had a much better view of it, just because Castle wasn't really seen for very long. I'm pretty sure it was a slightly faster match of when that was played. So, yeah. I'll probably just go silent for the rest of this one and let it all speak for itself. Thank you. Alright, so all of those kits were uh, obviously available for both sides, and they constantly go under maintenance or reworks just to make sure things are more balanced and nothing is too overpowered compared to everything else. But now I'm just going to go down the line and probably go through our oldest and newest maps and just try and glance over everything. All the chests are going to be the same, it's just simple layout. I'll show that real quick. And I'll try, I don't know, I might, some of the maps I do personally think look better at night, so I'll do a little bit of changing for that. There, start us off on night for this one. But this was probably the biggest of the changes to the map. What it initially was one of these mushrooms right here was just off in the corner, and it was a starting map, first ever map, and really didn't have a whole lot put into it. It was just an open lava lake with one mushroom on each side, and the rest was up to the player. They had plenty of blocks, and they were just expected to kind of just build across. It wasn't great. So this is definitely the biggest of the changes in the map, and some of the newer blocks have been really nice for it, but not as much in this one. Definitely in other builds. I think Highlands has probably gotten a decent use out of it, and Caverns has been the biggest one for that, even with some of the new mobs added in, and planning on even adding a warden once that gets released, but that'll be nice. And I probably should have planned a better way out of this, but oh wait, I'm gonna show it at day first. Here we go. So not a whole lot different. I kind of like the lava, just overall glow, giving it I don't know, just a very nice overtone to it. And when it comes to the towers as well, most of them will be in the same location, but I think there's a couple of them where it's in different spots. Mostly just Castle and Canyon are the two off the top of my head that I can remember that have that. And then even just that little glance over the top there, the couple of things might stand out from the changes. The bamboo fields were made a lot larger, as well as the cherry blossoms were added. And I added a couple of drip leaf blocks as well. So this one shouldn't take a whole lot. Most of it's visible initially, but I'll still do a little flyover, maybe get some better angles on some stuff. The bamboo was increased mostly just to make it encouraged to move around a little bit more rather than just running a straight path, but it's a good route if you want to try and like dodge from arrow fire. The cherry blossom was more or less added just to liven things up a little bit, because it was mostly just, it was kind of bland. It really needed more structures throughout it. And looking at it at nighttime, this is a pretty common thing through all of them that use lanterns on the maps. The blue side's just quite a bit darker because of these soul lanterns, and on some cases I think it'd be nice if they were more equal, but in Caverns I actually kind of like the dimmer setting for the blue side, so I'm not entirely sure how to go about that, but I think it turned out pretty well. And actually the addition of candles having an equal lighting source of both colors really helped out. And I haven't seen a whole lot of use out of that, but it's still a pretty nice addition. And the roots, hanging roots I think they are, those were something that were recently added onto this. Got the chest down here in a slightly more abnormal location. This one recently had to do a little bit of changing on because that starting cavern was really difficult to have symmetrical, and that was something that I didn't initially realize wasn't symmetrical, but it felt a lot more cramped on one of the sides. I'm not sure which one. These little containers inside of the temple contain diamonds, hasn't been used a whole lot. 2 diamonds in each one. And lodestone. Can't remember if there's any kits that can utilize that, but that was just something that was added in as a decoration thing. It might be able to be used for something, but I'm not sure of it right now. But the diamonds are just a nice little added thing. Really takes a lot of time out of it though, and without being disturbed by the other team is really something that doesn't happen a whole lot, so it's not too big of a deal, but you can use like miner to your advantage to get to those more. A lot more noticeable in this area, just down here with the lanterns. How much darker it is just trying to use the soul lanterns. And here it is at midnight. This one doesn't have a whole lot of lighting changes. I mean, it's a lot darker, but there's mostly just dark spots. It didn't get covered the best with the lighting, but it's not too bad. I don't think there's any maps that really drastically suffer from it being at night. And daylight cycle is on during these games. For some maps, I think it starts at different sets of time. This one's probably a daytime map, but all of them are set up with the command blocks for the ready section, which I don't even think is something that's been shown yet. But it's just a simple selection of, might as well show it off. The ready button is activated right here. It is, yeah, the button's right above this block, and what it does is it has 2 sets of these, one on each end, which set off the timers, which that might have been something that happened, I don't know, might as well show it. But it places 1 redstone block on the close end on the bottom and the far end on top, so there's just another copy of it on the other side, and once both of them are pressed, it releases the piston, the signal goes through, and the doors are activated. Which, if it has been showed in video, is something that would be recognizable by the note blocks, but otherwise it'll probably get shown off soon. I'd like to get more content out for this, but despite the 5-month gap of the last time I got one of these uploaded, it's not as much of a guarantee as I would like. This canyon map is personally one of my favorite. I liked how this one turned out a lot. The lighting is really cool at night, especially from a much farther overhead view. I can try and look at the clone versions, which we have set up for the maps, despite, well, not really despite, but due to the colored glass at the roof. The barriers can be seen through the map, or on the map, like you can see through them for it, but the glass just covers the whole thing, so you can't actually see any of the overhead views. So in that starting room where everyone spawns in at, it would just be this. It's just all blue, and that doesn't really look as nice. So I had to clone all of them, which wasn't too bad. I mean, you can't do it all at once because my game cannot handle that. But nope, that's the wrong button again. Oh, keep selecting share instead of the down arrow, which is what I currently have set for my key binding on this, and I should really pay attention to that. But anyway, I had to clone all of them just so they could be seen on the map for the main area. But anyway, I just really like how this one looks at night, especially this main area. It has a little bit to do with lava, and I think a lot of it comes from just that little lighting change as it comes up the caverns, which is actually a different map, so canyon, I guess. But yeah, I really like how that one turned out. Plus, it goes really well with one of my personal favorite kits, which is the drone. Really annoying on that one. And that one over there, canyon, was the first one that didn't have the tower in the main, like, it wasn't in one of the corners. And this map here, Castle, initially didn't have it here anyway. I think it was up in the corner. It just didn't really work very well. The whole castle got a remodel. Added a couple of the smaller drip leaves, I think they are. And the whole maze stayed the same. I added a couple of sea pickles, so at night that is a little bit better illuminated. But other than the castles, this map hasn't changed a whole lot, but the castles themselves added a lot to it. The whole thing kind of cobbled deep slate, I think, helped really bring a better contrast to this front area. This room, I'm still not really sure a whole lot of what to do with. I tried to find some better decor options to add into this, but it wasn't really the best. I feel like I probably could have done better with it, but that might be something to work with a little bit later. And trapdoors, I think, were something that we had added in there. Just not like this high up, because there's a whole second floor now. I don't even think castle really had that. It was just stairs to the main area. The two chests is still something that stayed the same though. They just added like a little gold room now. And they do have bedrock underneath them, just so it can't be directly mined from the room below. Although I'm sure that'll probably be a reoccurring strategy on this. And this little hole right here leaves a pretty nice gap for the elytra, so that's still a pretty big part of this map. Gotta love the symmetrical part of that, just slightly off-centered. Personally don't much like that, but the extension of the floor below it, there's not really a whole lot to do about it. It's not too bad once you realize why it's there, but I don't know. And I think this is probably the only tower you can find where you can just place it immediately without having to build up. And then here's this one again at midnight. A lot brighter over here by the tower, but still quite a bit darker in here. Not a whole lot changes inside of the castle. Maybe a little bit of the views from outside, like the starting hallway. But this actually probably becomes more noticeably brighter. And then there's the sea pickles going to effect on the fountain. Just a little nice thing. I was going to add them down at the bottom, but they seem kind of in the way. Could possibly put them... Oh, where are they at? I always struggle to find these. I would hope that wasn't something important. There we go. I could put them at the bottom like those water pillars, but still, it gets in the way a little bit. Might be something to look into later, but right now it's probably fine. And I am going to need those blocks to get back out. There we go. And then same thing over here. It's a lot brighter over here. This is one of them that I think would be nicer if the soul lanterns had the same kind of lighting display as the soul lanterns. There's bedrock. And then all of this is the same. Could be a good hiding spot back here, just for trying to stay away from anyone spawning in and immediately jumping out the windows trying to hunt down anyone who's got the wool. And then this comes to the newest map, which, real fancy overview here. I'll just enter in at the tower placement. Okay, so I guess there's one other where you can just place it down immediately. But this one gave me a lot of trouble with this whole starting symmetrical area, and it's still not. But I'm gonna have to make do with it. It's not too bad. It's... Well, I mean, if you go looking for the differences in how symmetrical it is, it's really bad. But it's not in an area that greatly affects it. Like, all of these tunnels ended up the same. So that didn't have too big of a difference. Trying to get all this down took a little while, but it's all worth it. I think this is a really nice map aesthetically, and not a whole lot of matches have been played with it. Not a whole lot of matches have been played off camera. I mean, definitely a lot more than what has been recorded, but since the last time, maybe like 3 or 4 matches max, or sessions, I suppose, would be more accurate. But this one has definitely seen the least gameplay, with probably only 2 matches. But I think it's got a lot of potential with all of the kits, really. The miner should be good for this. I put deep slate on the very outer walls, though, like right past this. It's 2 outer blocks besides the concrete have that, so it's less encouraged to just mine through all the walls. And it forces people forwards a little bit more. And you can still mine around, but you'll at least like run into some of these outer areas. And it'd just be a long detour to try and go through all of it. And this main center area will have an interesting aspect in game, because once both the ready buttons are activated and the system that sets off the note blocks is activated, then that sets off a bunch of spawners, which will spawn, I think, 3 or 4 glow squid at the very beginning of this, and then every 2 minutes it will spawn 1 more. So this will slowly fill up and just be full of squid. Candles coming into a decent amount of play here. Got a mob spawner off to the side. And then not a whole lot changes past here. Still quite a bit dimmer here. I tried to add a lot of lighting without making it seem overkill, and still have the lighting be decent. I wanted to add a pathway above the like connecting to the starting tunnel and ending off somewhere above the middle, but I ended up just having to settle for a little bit of a second layer, and they can kind of create their own tunnels, but it just runs into stuff going back this way. I don't think this tunnel gets interfered with, but like this path down here, and I think that had a little bit of the problems with the symmetricality of it. Might be like a block or 2 off, in which the tunnel would run into it on one end and not on the other. So unfortunately that led to not being able to do that, and it could still be a strategy later, but still, yet again, that's not going to be something that I'm able to naturally create, so that'll come down to gameplay. This one I'm not going to bother showing off at daytime because it's already in the caves. So the only other map is Skylines, and that one's all the way off to the side, because that one, let's see in a second, I guess. But actually I have to find where it's at, because all of these were lined up just to be next to each other for like the maps, which those are the clone ones over there. I'll go take a look at those in a second. But that is not another map. That was a failed attempt at building this one the first time around. Yeah, getting the dimensions on this one took a little bit. I think it's a lot longer map as well. It might be 150 blocks, I'm not sure. Most of them are 150 by 40. And I can do a quick check on that because I'm probably going to have to enter through those tunnels anyway, so it won't hurt to go over here. But I wanted this, I mean, at first I was debating having it being a bit wider. I wasn't really paying attention. That helps a whole lot. But ended up going with, I think, the normal dimensions anyway. So yeah, this one's 150 blocks. And I'm gonna have to enter through here to stop myself from destroying a bunch of things that I don't really want to have to replace as I break everything. Perfect. And then this one has the tower all the way down here. And I'll go back through here and just fly down the layers. But more could really be added to this, I'm just not sure what. Staircase on each side, some pillars. I mean, it's a pretty nice setup. There's not a whole lot that really needs to be added, I guess. It works fine. But just to fill in the space, I suppose. This one tends to be a really big problem for all of the elytra kits, because you can just get by the whole thing really quickly. If you're using Pigeon and have the rockets available to you, it takes one rocket to get in the front door, although you don't even really need that. If you use the Dragon kit, you can get all the way down to the red team sign, at least, from just this little starting gate. And I think if you line it up perfectly from like one of these first buildings, you can launch an Ender Pearl and just barely land on the bottom row of these signs. So really just instant transportation on this one is a bit of a problem, so quick defense is good. But once you get the defense down on this, and maybe even like block off the windows, I'd imagine this one goes on for quite a decent amount of time, because it's hard to get by anywhere. Unless you have like kits that are specifically designed for this kind of area, and then it's just over. But this one hasn't really seen a whole lot of gameplay either, so knowing how that would work is not really something I can go too much into about. Because I think the most played one is definitely Highlands. I'm not sure if it has seen a whole lot since the added bamboo or anything like that, but it's definitely been played the most overall, which I think is fine. It's pretty simple, but good enough. I mean, it doesn't need a whole lot. It's meant to be a pretty flattened out area. Something simple, very diverse, can use a lot of kits on it. And I think that's really all it needs to be able to do. So it being the main one is pretty good. Filling in these kind of buildings would be nice to have, but it's kind of hard to get decor upside down. I think with the initial structure, it took a couple of attempts to get it right on that main tower, but there was initially going to be some like more office space on it, I think. But the layout didn't line up very well for having like these side buildings, and it just ended up having the layout changed. But these are all pretty much the same. They're all empty buildings, so I won't go too much into it here. And I have to exit back out here. I'll go look over at the clones and some of the side buildings just for the lobby. So a couple of minor design things, and then I think that'll be good. But the cloned buildings are right over here. This is where all the maps were set up for the starting area, and some of them might be a little bit different. I don't know if the initial castle design was displayed, but I know the first remodeling of the castle was built here. I don't know if the other one got cloned over though. It doesn't look like it, so I can actually do a little bit of comparison here, and I'll start with that. A little bit of cloning issues, but it just had to be done for the map. And I think the top of the towers still should be pretty similar. No, okay. Well, the castle map is just how it is then. The map on it probably isn't set up right. It might not even be updated. Like if I were to create a new one now, I'm not going to put it into the slot for the lobby just because that would look weird and out of place. Okay, so you can see where the... Oh, that is kind of hard to highlight. Well, you can see how the castle is on this end. And then I'll have to glide over to the other side to see it. But the caverns one right next to it, that one was awful trying to clone just because everything's on different layers and is covered up by the surface. Yeah, so that one shows a bit of differences. I kind of like how this one looks on the map if it weren't for that tower. But the new castle model definitely works a lot better for gameplay. So I think that's fine. But I'll just look around a little bit over here because I doubt all of it got shown in probably the less than 10 minutes of footage that I got on it. I don't even think in my entirety of playing it in this version did I ever go in this hallway, because that was a lot of an archery spot, and I mostly played like Enderman or Dragon, I think were my main kits for this one. I should cycle around a little bit more to seeing some of the newer ones. But, yeah, some of them just work a lot better for how some of them are laid out. So other than this bedrock, this one will be the same as the other one. I won't go too much into it, but I'll just do really quick flyby. And then I'll go back to looking over the other clones. It'll just be a quick overhead view because all of them have been seen, but it's just to get a better view for night and day. And that'll be the kind of design that is shown on the maps. So for like these, that's it'll be pretty similar to those. There we go. Yeah, so this one was bad. This doesn't look awful, like if you could just look at that dome in the middle, but unfortunately everything else is there, and it doesn't look the best like this. But it's what we've got. And I don't know why that one chunk struggles to load for me every time, but it continuously does. See if I can line that up. I'm just gonna keep caverns out of the way there. This is been a couple of times since I've looked over this on just day and night. Pretty much this exact angle, really. Being able to see the difference on all of these, but it's pretty nice. And I'll see if I can get all the maps individually. If this chunk will be simple enough for me. I do like this view of the little mesa type structures on the far end, the cliffs almost that you spawn by. Seeing that from this overhead view is pretty nice. And then this one has got a pretty good lineup as well for it. Forest. So we got forest, highlands, western temple, canyon, castle, caverns, and then skyline somewhere off to the side over there. There we go. And then that was something we had that was cut off. That used to be a building area. But the only reason I really bring that up is just because these were the main areas, rather than having the respawn, which is just die whenever someone's like punching you or a lot, or you just, really if you just want your health back, just run in there. I got the parkour, which I forgot turns you to survival mode. Why not? Yeah, quick run through. I don't think anyone's really beaten this inside of the game. Outside of the game, when I had extra time, I still didn't beat it. I've gotten fairly close, but not really. Fantastic. This shouldn't be too far though, so not too bad of a detour. This way. So I'll try that again. I'm not gonna run through the parkour because that wouldn't happen anytime soon, but I'll just go in there, go into survival, or creative, sorry. And then, yeah, move on to the next thing. So negative 1060. Negative 10, 15, 60. That should work for when I need to get back here. And because people like to be so difficult on this one for when it comes to spawning in, this whole thing is layered with barriers, so people cannot just get punched off immediately. Can't really do a whole lot about... Actually, you know what I should do? This is the... Yeah, this is the original. So I'm gonna add deny blocks under this so they just can't break it. Can't really put that like on the lava layer. No, that's alright. But I'll at least put it underneath this main platform so they can just leave that alone. I'll probably still leave the barriers on the side here, just because being punched off is still a problem from that. But then, it's kind of glowstone that all of this is built out of for the most part, so not a whole lot I could do about people breaking that, but hopefully that isn't too bad of a problem anyway. And then from there it's to here. This one is one that I struggle to make a lot. There we go. And a couple of simple trapdoor jumps. Another strafe. Tried not to overdo it with any kind of specific parkour, it's mostly just whatever's tossed in. Perfect, this is why I've beaten it so many times. I think the ladders is the farthest I've gotten, and I don't even know if that was like me just flying back up every time I fell. I've done this a little bit, but I definitely haven't gotten any farther than that. And then I'll try this once. 2-block strafe. Yep, that was a fantastic attempt. It pretty much requires a double jump to do that. Or at least I think it does. I haven't been able to prove otherwise. And then here, it should teleport you back. And as accurately in the top left, if anyone can ever complete this inside of the game, it's taking way too long to actually get back. Because that, like, that's unfortunately a problem we have a lot, trying to get everyone in at once. And then this one is just, yeah, it's just fist fight. This one I should put deny blocks under, at least the starting area. I'll just leave one there and work with it later. Cool, I surprisingly got that in the middle. There used to be armor here, but people would just take it and jump off to the side, so that's fine. And then I don't really think there's anything too big to look over other than that. Probably just the main lobby where everyone runs through. -10, 15, -60 I think it was. No guarantees. Not too far off. I take it was regular 60. You know, that's pretty good. Oh, actually, admin room. Probably saw a glimpse of that from other footage, but this is just where I can come in and moderate everyone, set spawn point for everyone, regen 5 for 5 seconds, daylight cycle, which should always be on, but just to be sure. Peaceful to refill hunger, easy because summoner kits, and thinking of peaceful, natural regen is something that I have off. I heard that in one of my other videos, of which I was looking over the Kitwars stuff, and I couldn't remember if that was something that I actually used. Admin spawn, I think, just sets my spawn in here, so I can do /kill, and then there's /clear, and the start button, which starts up the door activation thing, and sets me, does that set me? I don't think it does, in which I should probably change it so it sets me to survival, but I'll do that afterwards. It's not really worth doing right now. Survival, adventure, and then remove effects. So all pretty simple stuff. Really just to moderate everyone else running around here. Get a quick look at the maps, if I hadn't already. Yeah, so the castle is definitely still in the older model, but that's fine. I'll have to look into that in a second. Really what it is, just when any of the ready buttons have been activated, it sets off another series of command blocks which are behind this wall. There we go. Considering I've already been over there, might as well. Right there. Which unlocks piston, and then it selects that. It puts the person in de-opt, I think twice, so even if I were to click it, it would put me into visitor, in which I can't do anything. It will teleport me to a random player, make me invisible, just so you can watch the game without getting in the way of anyone. Or really being able to cause any problems whatsoever. And I'll run that door sequence in a little bit just so have the spectate open and see that. Well, actually, spectate won't open, but I guess it's just a button anyway. Yeah, it would just be that piston with concrete, and that's it. Yeah, it's a little model just to add more to the starting room. I thought it needed more. Still is a little bit bland because it's all just red and blue. It blends in a little bit, but it's not bad. And then I'll come in here just to get a closer view. All still symmetrical, even though it's just armor stands. Yep, there we go. So I think that leaves me off with the last thing is I'm just going to do the starting sequence and leave myself to do a couple of edits afterwards. Gotta fix up the admin room a little bit and add deny blocks to a couple of areas, but other than that, I think right now it's in a pretty good state. Okay, it does turn me to survival, so that's pretty nice. And oh my god, lag. Fantastic. Couple of other rules here as well. This one, it's taking a lot of work. Okay, so I can't still get that. I recently put deny blocks under all of here, just because punching through the walls was another problem. But I'm gonna rerun that. Actually, rerunning that sequence isn't a whole lot of an option. I'll try and rerun it once, but if that doesn't work, I'm sure it'll be seen later. Just from any other footage I get, should be. Should have this in it if I'm paying attention whatsoever. Which, it's a pretty decent chance I don't, but hopefully I do. There we go, that was a little bit better. Little fireworks display here. There was supposed to be some particle effects, but I think lag is starting to take its toll on all of this. So, yeah, that pretty much does it. Hopefully I'll get more Kitwars out there soon. I really hope so for YouTube and for myself, because I personally enjoy playing this quite a bit. And there's still a lot of work to be done with it. For now, like, I could still balance things out quite a bit, but even for the future, just getting more things to do with it is always good. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll be seeing more of this soon.